You did not lose value. You lost the part of yourself that kept proving it to people who were never qualified to measure you. And that is the wound that Chiron in Taurus is about to touch. This is not going to be a spiritual spa with herbal tea and some nervous system regulation quote over a beige background and a pink sparkle. This is way deeper. This is the place where your body remembers every moment where it felt what was made to feel. Too expensive, too difficult, too needy, too slow, too much, too little, too impractical, too ambitious, or too sensitive. Maybe a bit too ordinary, too simple, too hungry, too attached, too human. And this is the place where you learn to ask, am I even worth staying for? Am I worth paying for? Am I worth choosing? Am I worth protecting? Being patient with? Am I allowed to need more, get more without feeling like I'm such a burden? Am I allowed to want beauty and money and stability, devotion, peace, loyalty, touch, consistency? Just simple life. Chiron is moving into Taurus, my friends. And Taurus is not a concept sketch. It's a foundational sign with bold lines. It's not one of those signs that pretends it doesn't need to eat to survive, or it has transcended paying rent. Taurus is the body, the money, the food, the nervous system, yes, the relationship with enough, the relationship with pleasure, with the feeling of being held, the relationship with excess, with too much, with possessions, values, your voice, your standards, and your capacity to receive immediately, here and now, like a transaction, magnetizing that plastic credit card to the terminal. Connection, currency, resources, and all of this just because, without you having to go to a summit and represent your presentation, PowerPoint, like showing them why and showing them how. It's just simple. It just is. It kind of reminds me of the scene where they went shopping in the White Chicks movie, where there was all these amazing designs. And the girl who looked pretty hot, she still felt like she was too much for this little mini skirt physically. And one of the characters had to fit in all this clothing. Just couldn't. Pretty much Chiron and Taurus vibes here. Chiron and Taurus exposes your wound around value, the wound around being safe in your body, the wound around what you think you have to earn before you are allowed to rest, or to wear more professional clothing instead of a robe for your podcast episode, like what I'm doing right now. And also, it exposes the wound around what you tolerate, because a part of you is still thinking that scarcity is just the way things are. It's way more realistic than love and abundance. And this transit is not here to make you like more spiritual, in the yogic sense, I would say, where you do not get attached to the fruits of your labor and all that jazz. It is here more likely to make your sense of self-worth impossible to keep theoretical, because we all can say, oh, I value myself, I love myself, without other people actually testing it, without life testing it, without results testing it, without the bank accounts testing it. When someone comes back out of the woodwork with that perfect line, oh, hello, stranger, sorry I've been out of it, been so busy. Or when your client is asking for a discount and saying that your reading was a bit too vague, or just making your life a bit more difficult than it should have been. When the family system is keeping you where you're supposed to be, in your role, on your shelf, when your body is sending you signals and is very tired, but your old identity loves the rock and roll, loves this environment of hustle and chase and thrill and adventure, or just being impressive according to some standard, I guess. Or when the relationship seems very stable and pleasant to look at from the outside, but your inner world feels like you are in a hostage situation. And this is the question that comes to mind. What are you still calling normal because you're scared of what it will cost you to admit you have outgrown it? And that is Chiron in Taurus. The wound is not about pain. And it's like, it is pain, but it's not just that. It is the location, a pressure point. It's the same pressure point that is echoing in different parts of life or manifesting over and over across various patterns. Different partner, same wound. Different job, same pain. Different friendship, same wound. Different year, same pain. Same little internal judge who is always sussing whether you are allowed to ask for more, to be more. And Chiron is quite annoying, in my opinion, because it's not going to heal you like if you went for a masseuse, the pressure points there. It's not straightforward archetype and energy. It's not going to give you what you want. It sometimes heals through making the whole thing unbearable. The overgiving becomes embarrassing. The undercharging becomes insulting. The emotional starvation starts to look not like a romantic Amy Winehouse song, but more like a plumbing issue. It's overflowing. And chemistry starts looking a little bit overwhelming. And not in a good way. Chiron does not show you the wound. You have to make a walk towards your wound. You have to mature to see it in full light. You have to have some journey on your record, some sort of journey. It can show you the intelligence within the wound, the mystery of why it grew where it grew, why you grew with the wound. Because yes, it did hurt. It could be still hurting, but it also taught you how to read rooms, how to read people's eyes, how to read the words they write, how to survive rejection, how to sense instability, how to build something from nothing, and how to keep going with almost no emotional leverage, no emotional groceries in the fridge, just a jar of pickles, not sweet, pretty sour. How to become useful, beautiful, competent, how to become indispensable, how to become the person who can hold it all together like a big ox in the farmlands. And then one day, the same skill that actually saved you, made you more resilient, start to eat away at you. And that's where the healing begins. It's nice. It would be nice to have a healing when you're all glowing, wrapped up in seaweed with the cucumbers in on your eyes and, you know, a nice girlfriend to chit chat to and a sugar daddy to pay for it all. But no, with Chiron in Taurus, it's a different story. It's not when you are all glowing that when the healing comes. And why is that? It's because Chiron is actually a bridge between planet Saturn and planet Uranus. I would like you to note where those two planets are in your chart while Chiron will be in Taurus, which will be this year up until September, from June till September, and then it will go back into Aries. After 2027's April, it will go back into Taurus and will stay in Taurus until pretty much July 2033. So we're going to have a sneak peek this year of this energy. This is why I'm recording this nice and early for you. So let's go back to Saturn and Uranus. Saturn says, grow the F up, build the structure, build your empire. Time is ticking. You're getting old. It's like, have to deal with reality when it comes to Saturn, with the nasty part of our reality. It's not Tinkerbell and the mermaids brushing their hair under fountains kind of story. It's a little bit more concrete, I would say. And Uranus says at the same time, just break the pattern. Just do it. Wake up. Stop living in this framework. Are you in a cage? Maybe it's time to rattle it, break it, and move on. So how do these two really opposite energies, as it seems, connect? Through Chiron. And when Chiron goes into Taurus, the question becomes, what are you building your life on? Actual value or fear? Embodied self-worth or a performance of being fine? True stability or relationship with stagnation that you have mistaken for loyalty? Taurus likes permanence, quality, and it's gonna ask you, what if the thing that you're trying to preserve so much is the thing that actually wounds you? What if the relationship is only stable because you stopped telling the truth and rattling the cage? What if the job only works because your body pays the invoice? What if the family bond only keeps intact because you have to keep yourself smaller at the dinner table and only eat salad? What if your financial reality is not only about the money, but also about permission? What if the body issue is not vanity, but grief? What if the fear of asking for more is not humility, but a wound wearing sensible shoes? And no, astrology is not here to cause any of that, any of those wounds. It's just timing and confrontation of that timing. So in 2026, Chiron enters Taurus from June 19th until September 17th. Then in 2027, it returns to Taurus April 15th and stays in Taurus, as I said, until July 19th, 2033. Yeah, it's not a 5-minute report for all the things that you value, for all the emotions that are attached to those things. It is a long initiation curve. Value is a lived structure. What you charge, what you accept, what you eat, what you keep, what you stop carrying, what you allow into your body, into your field, what you allow into your home, what you allow into your calendar, into your nervous system, and what you stop calling love when you receive the I'm sorry bouquet of flowers from someone who has been pretty nasty to you. This is where self-worth stops being a nice quote in your Instagram feed and start being an actual invoice that you have paid with your time, with your beauty, with your management skills, diplomacy skills, with the boundaries and choices you have made, slower life you have created, better standards, and the body that is just is doing its thing. For relationships, this is huge because Taurus is ruled by Venus. It touches on love and all the things that make our life so special. The evidence part of life and not necessarily the fantasy side. That's more Venus in Libra, which is also at home in Libra, but it is still ruling Taurus as well. If I were to compare, Venus in Libra is when you go on a date to a museum, you dress up nice, you have dinner. But Venus in Taurus is more you're wearing your pajamas and you maybe not even wearing anything and falling asleep next to that special someone without your makeup on. Maybe even waking up next to that special someone with your bad breath and wrinkled face. Super comfortable, super in love. That's Venus and Taurus. And we have Chiron here right now. And Venus is the host of this occasion. And you are asking now, is this actually safe? Is this reciprocal? Is this nourishing? Is this building something for the future? Do you feel embodied? Or do you become like a detective, sneaking up on that phone when they go into the shower? Oops. Who are you when you're trying to keep this all together? That is the Taurus question. Does this love make me more me? Make me more real? Or does it turn you into someone who keeps explaining, fixing, counseling, and still feel lame and misunderstood by the other? And this is where Chiron in Taurus exposes those value systems in both partners. The ones that are inherited, the ones that we take from our culture, the family values that we apply, the good woman values, the good man values, the man values, the strong, successful man values, and the successful person values, and the spiritual person who shouldn't care about these things values. If they love me, they'll suffer for me, or vice versa values. The don't ask for too much values. The be grateful for what you have, those ones too. Or at least they don't cheat, or at least they don't beat me values. Comparing yourself to others' values. The value system that can protect you can also be a cage that shrinks you. And yeah, Chiron and Taurus will ask you, do you actually believe all of this? Or did you just inherit it? Or it was energetically, psychologically, emotionally, circumstantially imposed on you for a while? Because it's a fixed sign, Taurus will hold on. That's why you have to be very, very diligent with what are you putting in your field. Taurus likes to preserve. What are you preserving? And the wound that Chiron, that Saturn and Uranus bridge is going to ask, what are you preserving? Is it sacred? Is it untouchable? Is it useful? Or is just familiar? Is this fear with a long-term issue and a 2033 expiry date on it? So this transit will be all about the right type of devotion, and it will be very personal because it's ruled by Venus. It is a story of patience, But are you being patient in the room that is on fire? Are you being truly stable, or is this just a plateau? Are you being loyal, or are you emotionally hoarding and clinging to things, people, situations, words, loyalties? Between I know my worth and actually behaving, doing things like your body, time, energy, love, labor, talent, and peace have a price. And not because you are cold or calculating, you're just no longer this spiritually inclined poor poet who is dressing this whole mess up as unconditional love and just going with the flow. I will go through the 12 signs. So listen to your rising sign first, if you know it, and then inquire about your sun and the moon sign, just for fun. And thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your comments, subscriptions. Love you so much. And I will see you next time. Bye. Aries, this touches your money, literally, your finances, your self-worth, what you're here available for, your body and your possessions. You thought it was about income or the job or the price or the thing that you bought, invested in, or the person you were giving to and they didn't give back. It was about value, literally. It was about how quickly you started to prove yourself to someone who didn't really recognize your worth. You compromised when you treated your energy like this forever renewable source. You also compromised when you over-delivered to avoid being questioned. You compromised when you accepted the emotional crumbs because at least there was something on the plate. Now you see the wound. You're not waiting to become valuable anymore. This is where relationship with value, money, love, effort, and body changes because you don't need to chase proof. You need to stop abandoning the evidence. Your value was never the negotiation, it was the foundation. Taurus, this touches you directly. Your identity, your body, your presence, your sense of self. The way people experience you and the way you have learned to experience yourself. And you thought it was about confidence or appearance, finally feeling ready and being seen. And the wound has been actually being seen, but feeling like it is unsafe. That feeling inside your skin. Compromised when you made yourself easier to love. Smoother, quieter, chill, less hungry, less demanding, not taking too much space, less obvious in your own life. You compromised when you made peace by making your own needs look decorative. Now you see it. You were not difficult. You were disconnected from the part of you that knew what enough felt like. Chiron moving through your sign asks you to stop treating your body like a public relations problem. Your body is not the obstacle. It is an archive and it remembers. It remembers when it shrank. It remembers where you stayed. It remembers when someone tried to touch your life without honoring you. Now you choose true embodiment, full presence. Your body now remembers what your previous personality edited out. Gemini, this touches your hidden life, the subconscious and the private rooms of your existence, the spiritual exhaustion, if you may say. And you thought it was about being tired or distracted, anxious, somehow unable to move on, to move forward. The grief that you tried to put down on paper, to find words for it, but couldn't. You compromised when you tried to explain the wound instead of feeling it. You compromised when you try to stay as busy as you can to avoid the deeper, murkier waters of your psyche so that the truth doesn't catch you when you are not paying attention. Now you see what has been hiding underneath it all. Some part of you has been living with an old ghost, calling it dreams, intuition, creativity, inspiration, melancholy, food for thought. And this is where solitude can become medicinal. This is where the pattern loses its invisibility cloak. No, you're not losing your mind. You're losing the access to the lie that kept you busy. Cancer, this touches your friendships, audience, community, networks, the future you see in front of yourself, your aspirations. You are trying to keep it emotionally safe before you walk into it all, aren't you? And you thought it was about friends or visibility or being included or why certain spaces suddenly feel strange and alien. It was about belonging. The wound of wondering whether you have to keep it nice and warm in order to have space next to the fire, the communal fire, the circle of stories, or your place in the room. You compromised when you confused emotional responsibility with true connection, where you became this safe space for everyone else while asking your future to wait at the door, where you stayed in those circles, friendships, groups, just based on how much you were holding it, where your value was measured by how much you can be part of that. Now you see it. You were not rejected by the wrong room or burned by sitting too close to the fire. You had to walk out of the space where your nervous system has been working overtime to be accepted. Your future needs better people around it. And I'm not talking about cooler people or better people or louder people. Valuable, better people for you right now. Those who do not require you to bleed warmth to belong. Because belonging was never meant to cost you your entire inner life. Leo, this touches your career, your public life, and your reputation, your ambition. And you thought it was all about success, that title, status, the position, the proof that you are not fully wasting your life away. It was about the wound in regards to what you actually produce, what you bring to the table, how you're valued because of that. You compromised when you became impressive, dancing, one trick pony, instead of being honest. When you confused being seen with being used. You compromised when you build your public life around the ache and you thought you will be rewarded with the applause as payment. Now you see the difference. The platform is not the same as the self-respect. Recognition is not the same as fulfillment and nourishment. Being admired is not the same as being met. Chiron in Taurus is asking, what is your ambition costing your body? What your career is doing to your heart? What is your public identity hiding from your private self? And you do not need a bigger title to prove your value. You need to build a life where your success does not require you, true you, to disappear. The title was never enough if you didn't believe it, if your body didn't agree with it. Virgo, this touches your worldview and your beliefs, the studies, your path, your travel, your teaching, your faith, and the story you say to yourself to justify why your life unfolded the way it did. You thought it was about the truth or purpose, whether you made the right decision. It was about the wound in your belief system, the place where disappointment made you more practical, more alert, the place where betrayal made you hyper vigilant, mega intelligent. You wrote a PhD on emotional abuse, the place where pain made you suspicious of hope, of all the good things. You compromised where you treated certainty as safety, where you made your world so small that you wouldn't have to ask anything again or believing in something again. You compromised when you used analysis to avoid devotion to your most sacred beliefs. Now you see all of this old philosophical shenanigans finally cracking. And it's okay. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to miscalculate because your wound was built all around it. Chiron in Taurus asks you to reinvent this space and rebuild meaning from your body, from the inside to the outside. Your lived truth comes to the forefront, the one that can survive and has survived contact with reality. The belief that broke was just indeed getting too small for the life that was trying to reach you. Libra, this touches your intimacy, your power struggles, your deep psychology, trust and grief and sexuality merging, and contracts you enter when you let someone close enough to affect your nervous system. And you thought it was about trust or shared resources or betrayal. It was about the wound of merging with people before you knew what it would cost you. You compromised when you let the closeness blur the price, when you gave access because of all this chemistry that made the boundaries non-existent. You compromised when you confused intensity with truth. You compromised when you kept paying the emotional debt that was actually never yours to cover. Now you see it. Some connections did not deepen you. They drained you. They made you feel less powerful in your life, in your decision-making, in what you're bringing to the table. Chiron in Taurus asks you to come back and merge with your own body, with your own field first, consciously, before you let anyone else come closer. Anyone else's hunger could be your liability. Your love is not charity. It's not a rescue fund. It's not a trust fund. Your loyalty is not a collateral. Your softness is not weakness. It's not a public resource either. The intimacy exposing the debt. Pay attention. Now you decide what and who is no longer financed by your nervous system. Scorpio, this touches your one-on-one relationships. Your partners, clients, close contacts. The person opposite you on your anniversary. You thought it was about them, their behavior, their consistency, their fears, their charms, their gifts, their timing. It was actually about the wound that made certain mirrors become irresistible. You compromised when you stayed inside dynamics that proved that old story, that love is dangerous, that being chosen means being exposed, that desire comes with the battlefield. You compromised when you kept testing the relationships instead of seeing the patterns that have been already repeating themselves. Now you see the mirror differently. They were not just showing who they are, they were showing you the parts that still feel that love and threat are in the same category. Chiron is asking for a relationship with peace. And it doesn't have to be boring. The true peace that doesn't insult your depth. The mirror has changed. And how is that change affecting your face? Sagittarius, this touches your daily life and your work, health, habits, service, routines, and the way you have been carrying your body through this whole thing. What consequences are there for your body, your mind, and your spirit? You thought it was about productivity or discipline, keeping track, fixing the routine. It was about the wound of being useful while feeling disconnected from your own body. You compromised where you treated your well-being like a side quest. You compromised when you overworked, overhelped, overadapted, or acted like nothing is going on while your nervous system was beating the drums. Now you see it. Your body is not here to betray you. It just has been performing in the front lines. Chiron in Taurus asks you, stop building a life where your body has to survive. The routine, of course, matters. The sleep matters. The work rhythm matters. And the work life matters as well. Work-life balance, I mean. They are the architecture of your future self. You just kept the score within the calendar that was lying to you. Capricorn. This touches love or romance, pleasure, creativity, abundance, joy, children. You thought it was about dating or being creative and spontaneous, being desired, or whether you're ready to put yourself out there and finally go for it. But all this time it was a wound about joy. The place where pleasure became unsafe because it required a level of openness, where the romance felt a little bit dangerous because you were asked to expose yourself, to be seen without this bravado and armor. You compromised when you made yourself impressive instead of open, performative instead of available, where you kept choosing controlled admiration instead of unscripted aliveness and a bit of unplanned landings. You compromised when you made love perform under these strict military conditions instead of being messy and real and not perfect. And you wondered why nothing breathes here, why nothing works. Now you see it. Your heart does not want another test. It wants a place where it can just exist. Chiron in Taurus asks you to take joy seriously as a medicine, as a life force. The proof that you're not here to endure for your art or for your dating life, but to just be and thrive in its messiness, in its realness, how dirty it can get. You're not here to achieve. You are here to experience joy. And joy is not a maneuver. Sometimes it's just a chance, just a glance, just a moment in time, a star that fell and disappeared. The joy was wounded. And now, with Chiron and Taurus, it's here to be finally embodied. Aquarius. This touches your home, family, loved ones, your roots, your foundation, your emotional stability and security, your physical home environment, your private life, and everything that you're trying to become from the ground up. And you thought it was about the house or the past or the family issue that is unresolved or needing some space or because of your nervous system not knowing how to properly relax and take comfort in the small things, in simple things. Everything looks fine, but are you feeling fine? It was about the wound in your foundation, where you intellectualized all the pros and cons, where your safety became a project with many, many pages in it and many, many approving bodies, right? What is it? The strata, or what is it called? Body corporate. Or the matriarch of the house or the patriarch of the house. They had to stamp the approval of it all. You almost learned how to detach before you reach that soft part. And your safety and your inner world, your private life became like this concept, instead of feeling that your body could ease into it and melt and flow. You compromised when you kept living above your needs. You compromised when you tried to overthink your grief. You compromised when you were an observer, a detached observer in your own very close to heart life, because feeling felt deeply uncomfortable and it was easier to be dismissive. Now you see it. Your future cannot be built on a foundation your body, your heart do not believe in. Chiron in Taurus asks you for real safety, not the expensive couch safety, not the cheese board safety, Not Netflix and chill safety. Not even the clean, vacuumed carpet room safety, but actual ground you step on, actual nourishment, actual privacy, actual repair behind the closed doors. The foundation spoke because your body is tired living like a visitor in its own life. Pisces. This touches your communication, your voice and your mind, your siblings, your immediate environment, your messages, your writing, the way you translate your inner life into words and express them so that other people can actually meet you and understand. You thought it was about communication, about being understood, about saying too much or too little, about being heard. The wound has been about being heard and feeling heard, about trusting your own perception, about whether your words were allowed to be simple and direct, honest, without the fluff, still carrying that feeling, being yourself when you speak. You compromised when you blurred the truth to keep the peace, where you made your message softer than actual reality. You compromised when you let other people's confusion become a reason to doubt your own clarity. Now you see it. Your voice, I don't believe that it was ever weak. It just got a bit strained of trying to translate itself into multiple dialects, languages, in order to fill the emptiness on the receiving end. Because other people, for some reason, stayed committed to being vague and to expecting vague. Chiron in Taurus now is asking you to speak from your body and to listen with your toes. Slowly, clearly, no rush. Don't let your voice become tired from a simpler sentence. So that is the Chiron in the 12 signs in Taurus. And the deeper thread of all of this is that it's not only about the pain of the wound, it's what shaped the pain into a belief system, into a value system, into an operating system. The wound that can teach you the cost of love, the cost of the resources, the cost of money, the cost of your body, the cost of your body's ability to carry things through, the one that taught you where the pleasure is actually safe, whether this thing, this object is actually what you need at all, the one that reminds you where true stability is actually possible, if you're willing to look at it through that prism, through the stable prism. The place where we take place, we take space. We are the cosmic citizens with our rights, with our universal lights and lights and rights. But I want you to remember one thing. The wound is not the final authority. It is a doorway, a very annoying doorway, but also necessary. Can you build a life where your body trusts more? Can you stop preserving the thing that keeps proving the wound? Can you stop calling scarcity maturity or spiritual transcendence? Can you stop calling overgiving love? Can you stop calling your fear of receiving humility? And can you please stop making your value dependent on someone else's capacity to recognize it? It will be a long transit. It will be a slow transit. It will press on the exact pressure points over time where you feel all those things, where your life has been held together by coping. And the gift of the transit is not that everything becomes perfect, is that you will stop politely betraying yourself. You will stop making survival skills your entire personality. And you will stop waiting for a more convenient, better, more valuable version of you. And you will start building now your body, your desire, standards, your voice, your money, your work, your life. You're not here to prove your worth. You're here to build from it, because what you choose next becomes your life.